what's up, man? We're just starting the stream.
Welcome back.
Dude, yeah, what's up, dude?
Hey.
Good to see you.
Good.
You streaming tonight or no?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, really? Nice. Yeah, we're just getting...
I was gonna stream down there, Miami River, and then walk Brickell Bay Drive.
Oh, nice. I was going to take the Metro Mover to Brickell, but there's a big delay. There's an outage.
I heard.
Yeah, there's no Metro Mover going to Brickell.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But yeah, dude, I'm just starting the stream now. I was going to be back,
That's so
though.
funny.
Yeah, I work right here. Yeah. All of the...
Yeah. That's crazy.
Citadel guys
Citadel
are...
is moving in so quick.
Yeah, dude, so...
I'll see it going down the Brickell Bay Drive and
Yeah.
the future HQ.
On the, so if you go to the 20th floor, they used to have the whole left side just be for like regular businesses. They forced everybody to move the other side. Yeah. So it's like all of the Citadel guys are on one side. Yeah, dude. It's good to be back.
Yeah, I can be on your stream and do the intro, and I'll start off down there.
Yeah, sure. I'm just gonna plug in the mic. This
So
is the mic I use. This little piece of. Everybody always says like, "Oh, the audio is so great." I'm like, dude, I bought this from Amazon for like $10.
Are you using your original picture?
Viewers at my place, so I gotta
It's okay.
bring it back.
Not a big deal.
All right, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm actually sitting here with Action Kid. I ran into him as I was coming down from the office. It's a beautiful night, humid though in Miami. Tonight we're going to be talking about Walmart's earnings report. I did want to touch on a couple things. We do have Dollar General reporting on the 25th, which I think is going to be a pretty good report. Obviously, Walmart reported yesterday. They beat on both the top and the bottom line, beat on earnings per share, and also beat on revenue. However, there were some concerning things in the report that we're going to talk about as it relates to customers trading down. So I was listening to the conference call. I was watching it in real time yesterday, and the biggest concern that I have is the terminology trading down. So the CEO of Walmart probably used that term about 20 to 30 times, and what he said was that customers that are shopping at Walmart stores, even though they may be coming in more frequently, they're not buying the name brand stuff, okay? They're not buying Johnson & Johnson, they're not buying, maybe General Mills cereal, they're actually trading down and buying Walmart branded items. Now, this is bad news for the overall economy, and I think we'll talk about reasons why, but it's pretty good news for Walmart. Surprisingly, we have gross margins generally tends to be a little bit higher on those particular products. You could think about the regular generic store-bought products. But besides that, we'll say hello to everybody in the chat. We're only going to be on for about probably an hour and 20, 30 minutes. And then I got to get the bus. So let's see who we have. We have Sally here. We got our pal Action Kid here. Popping by. We have D, we have the ABX girl, we have Gregory, Dan Zhang, Fernando's here. What's up, dude? We have Dennis, Mohammed, ABD says, hey guys, Charlie Richardson. This is good to have you back in Miami, Tom. Yeah, I'm just glad to be back. Definitely happy to be back. Weather's nice, a little bit humid, but all good. Paulina, RJ. Good to see you.
Target is earnings, right?
So I think, so the issue with Target was their inventory issues. So one of the interesting things on the call that the CEO of Walmart said is they should burn through all that excess inventory by right around Halloween, but they're not going to bring in like a lot of the, like high-end Christmas stuff, high-end Halloween stuff like they used to do. It was kind of a depressing report, but it's weird. A lot of the name brand stuff actually has higher gross margins than like all the other stuff. So it's actually pretty decent for their earnings.
When I was leaving, I was tuning into CNBC. And
Oh yeah?
Jim Craner was promoting all these off-retail stocks like TJ Maxx and
Yeah.
Ross. Yeah.
Kramer, not for nothing, everybody hates on Kramer. That's actually a pretty good thesis.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good thesis.
I walked into Ross, their aisles are full of clothes and everything, like discounted like crazy.
Dude, yeah, we've been talking about that. Like, there's actually one of my good friends works at a VC firm, and they're actually funding this particular company that does liquidations. So the company goes to all the big box retailers, buys all their excess inventory, and then resells it to Ross Brands, resells it to like Home Goods, Marshalls. So it's a good business. I think, you know, if you're in the market for like outdoor patio furniture or just to even furnish your apartment, you could even bring that probably to like electronics or even anything for your kitchen, like kitchen appliances. You're probably gonna get pretty good deals, like really, really good deals. Yeah. Points Travelers here says we have to get you down to South Beach. I know, but the thing is, so Action Kid could probably attest to this. The buses going from South Beach all the way back up to like North Miami Beach is not good.
It's very infrequent.
Dude, yeah, man.
Yeah.
So and that's why I haven't really been streaming from down there, because I have to take the S bus and then I have to take the H bus over, and there's no H bus that goes over. It stops at like, you know, it's like once every 1 or 2 hours. So
At that point, it's better just to get an Uber to go back, but that's pricey.
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Like here, boom, jump on. I just take it almost the last stop, and then get off.
Totally
So,
get it.
are you you want to walk, or are you gonna
Yeah, I'm
go this
gonna
way?
head down that way towards the river.
I'll walk with you down this way, and then
Okay.
we'll part ways, I guess, over there. Hey, Gregory's here, Dan Zhang. Oh, it's first time watching the Miami stream. Well, we are outside the 200 Southeast Financial Center. I work on the 20th floor in the WeWorks, like the co-sharing offices. But we actually have Citadel Securities moving in, so that should be good. Brittany McMurdy is here. Says, good evening, Tom. Welcome, Brittany. Good to see you. Hope you're well. So are you gonna cross the bridge? Or are you just gonna?
I'm gonna go to the river here and just stop my shoes there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's funny, I was on my way to the river when I ran into Tom. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
let me go say hi.
Very nice. We got the Metro mover here. There is a delay tonight for whatever reason, but Donnie says New York South, AK meets Tom. Yeah. I think there's another New Yorker down here. Barefoot Vlogger.
Barefoot Vlogger,
Yeah, he's here in what, Palm Beach County?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a nice area too.
I find it funny how we've never met in New York yet. It's only in Miami.
Oh yeah. Maybe because it's a little bit smaller, like more condensed, perhaps. Oh, are you traveling at all or no?
Not at the moment.
Okay, yeah.
I still have a lot of things that I do here, so.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, you said it's mostly done, right?
Yeah, it's mostly done, but
Okay.
there's still some stuff I want to finish.
Very nice. Hey, Destructionist is here. Says, Tom, we have a birthday tonight. T-Cake's birthday. Awesome. Happy birthday. Wish you many, many more. Yeah, the Whole Foods is down here. And one of the analysts on the conference call at Walmart name dropped Whole Foods because Walmart, the CEO of Walmart, said that a lot of their biggest customer acquisition in this quarter was from clientele making household income above $150,000. So that was their biggest influx in customer acquisition. So like, do you think you're stealing customers from, you know, Whole Foods and the like? It's possible.
And Costco,
Yeah.
all these other places.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I went to the Whole Foods today. I was telling these guys, I got like a little, maybe like not even a pound of fruit. It was like $9.
It's expensive.
It's insane, dude. It's like really, really bad.
Meanwhile, I go to Costco. I went there today. There wasn't a single rotisserie chicken left on the
Really?
counter for $4.99.
Which Costco do you go to?
The one near the airport.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's one near, there's one up by me, but I've only been there once.
They were cooking some more in the back, but I just found it funny how like that's the most popular item now is the Costco rotisserie chicken.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, dude, everybody is, Tyson's earnings report, they said the same thing. They're like, nobody's buying red meat. Everybody's trading down to just chicken because they can't afford it.
Well, you know why that's doing well in Costco? Because they kept their price at $4.99 for like years.
That's not bad. That's good.
Yeah. Like 10 years ago, I still remember $4.99.
Yeah.
So they do that to lure customers in.
Yeah, exactly.
Bring them into the store and then they'll shop for other stuff.
Yep. Damn, this is so nice. I saw a sea. So I was eating lunch here today, and I saw a massive sea turtle like swimming all throughout here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Hopefully, we see some dolphins today. GG NYC, good to see you. It says, hey Tom, people are taking advantage of sales and store brands. This is GG NYC. Abstract artist, good to see you. Says, hey Tom, beautiful view. Welcome, welcome. Lisa says, I paid $7 for a big bag of cherries. Yeah, that's a ripoff. I paid, it was about, I think it was a little less than a pound of fruit today at the Whole Foods. Cost me, I think, just under $10, like $9.50, something like that. Steph Wright is here, Lisa is here, welcome. Dan Zhang, good to see you. Ibrahim Azam, British Grey. So everybody, we are here with Action Kid. He is going to start his stream. I'm probably going to walk up to the FTX arena. And then maybe if we have time, head over to Brickell City Center. But we're only going to be live for about an hour and a half. I do have to make sure I get my bus. There has been some delays with the Metro Mover, with the buses, so I don't really want to get home at 1 o'clock in the morning. So it'll be a short-ish stream. Abstract Angel Artist says, I paid over $8 for a small bag of cherries. Horrible. Points Traveler says, you need to hit up a yacht and do the next stream. Perhaps. Well, check this out. Check out this view, everybody. All the way in the distance here is like the downtown Brickell area. But this is the W Hotel and Residences. You have a beautiful view. Also, if you look straight up, this is the brand new Aston Martin building. And I'm not too sure when it's going to be completed. But it looks like just about done. Almost done. Hey, War Walkers here, welcome. Kia says healthy food is so expensive. Yeah, and so to piggyback off of what you're saying about healthy food being expensive, so Walmart essentially reports on, I would say, three main categories. And the category that performed the worst, in which case consumers are not buying, at least not buying as much, is like the consumer electronics, TVs, things like that. But their sales for food have gone through the roof. So I think they grew at, low mid-teens in terms of revenue growth for things like food, regular consumables, but those items such as, TVs, electronics, actually decreased, I think, 9% year over year, which is essentially the sign of the times. I mean, people are essentially reverting back to only buying the basics, which leads me to my next thesis that since the verbiage that we saw out of Walmart's earnings report today, I can only assume that on the 25th, so August 25th, which is going to be later this week, the Dollar General, ticker symbol DG, will be reporting earnings. And I think they're probably going to report a pretty good quarter. Lisa says, absolutely good to see you, Lisa. Junior says, hey Tom, hope you're good. So what the heck drove Bed Bath & Beyond stock up? Yeah, so a lot of people are talking about those type of meme stocks. I try not to pay attention to them. I believe what causes all of that stuff is something that's called a short squeeze. So usually when you have like a percentage of the float, of the overall float of the particular stock sold short, the littlest amount of buying pressure could really drive that price growth up extremely high. Jill says, you were a busy guy. Good to see you, Jill. Yeah, we're back in Miami. Welcome. We will see you guys. If you also want to check out Action Kid's stream, he is just starting up his right now. So I'm probably going to head to the FTX arena. I believe AK is going to be walking all the way around. Oh, this way? Yeah, so if you guys want to be in and out of both streams, you'll be able to see the best of both worlds in Miami. So please check out Action Kid. He is a fellow New York streamer turned Miami streamer. And
stay on, I could introduce you too. Maybe some people don't know you yet.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I still have about 2 minutes to start.
Scott Briggs says even underwear is expensive these days. That is true. Well, interestingly enough, the apparel section of Walmart, their inventories are actually shrinking. And in addition to that, Corey says, what is your opinion on Lowe's and Home Depot? Ooh, we'll get into that tonight too. Sales were strong. I think that's a good topic of conversation. We'll definitely dive into that. But yeah, apparel doesn't seem to be moving too much at Walmart, but inventories are down, and they did give some guidance that they're really not going to be ordering too much. Solo says, I'm super excited for the upcoming season. Good to see you, Solo. Welcome. Diana Van is here. Good to see you. Mike Skate TV. Hope you're well, my friend. Bagels and Walks. Good to see you. We have Bertha B. Says, I love your streams. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Yeah, Junior says, Small World Action Kid. Yeah, so Action Kid lives down here in Miami as well. So AK, how does the intro work? Does it just go and then once it stops, it starts?
Yeah, that's how it is. I set up the video file in here, so
oh really?
I just choose the video and
and then it plays.
Yeah.
Okay, like so like this, right? On Prism, you go like this, and then like you could choose any of these or something like that.
No, not over there.
Like in media.
Before you even start the live stream, there's a thing where you can select the thumbnail. So hit that and then choose intro.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, that's very cool. I never knew how to do that before.
But yeah, I think it's good to have an intro because it gives people time to get in and.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's true. Tucson is here. This is hello from Tucson. Welcome. Andrew Lee is here. This is what's up from New York City. Welcome, Andrew. Good to see you. Hopefully we'll see some boats coming by tonight on the stream. Abstract says, how you enjoying Miami? Miami's good. It's good to take a break from the city every now and then. I think it's good. Corey says Lowe's and Home Depot are good dividend growth stocks. Yeah, Home Depot reported a pretty good quarter. I think Home Depot reported a pretty good quarter. But look, I think it's good news and bad news coming out of Walmart's earnings report, right? The good news, obviously, is that they beat on both the top and the bottom line. Guidance came in all right. Maintained guidance, but the contents within the earnings report was a little concerning. Obviously, sales are doing well, not only in the United States, but in Mexico, in China, and in Canada. But a lot of people tend to be trading down.
Right now, he's doing his own live stream.
Good to see you.
He does a lot from New York and Miami. Talks most about finance, stocks, the economy. But if you want to check them out,
Rod Johnson says, how long is the flight from New York to Miami? About 2.5 hours. AK, good to see you, man. Everybody check out AK. Maybe I'll see you tomorrow. I'll be around. I'll be in the office. So if you're around, we'll grab coffee or something.
All right.
Awesome, man.
See you.
Take it easy, dude. Deborah says, Tom, now that you're on AK, it feels very meta. Love that. Tin Man is here. So guys, once again, we're gonna start the stream, but it's gonna be like an hour and a half, maybe an hour and a half. So I gotta get the bus, and the Metro Mover was very delayed today, which is usually uncharacteristic of the Metro Mover. Reason being is because it's all automatic, it's all electric, so there's no actual physical people on the Metro Mover. TM says, why is rental and house prices so high? Well, I think you have a shortage of supply, right? So even though interest rates have been going up, we have a really tight supply crunch, and we have yet to see a lot of inventory come back onto the market. You know, funny you mentioned that. I was just looking at some single family houses in my neighborhood that I acquired, in the neighborhood that I acquired a home here, and there's like maybe 10 homes for sale, and all the prices are outrageous, and the homes need a lot of work, like a ton of work. So, you know, 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom houses, and yeah, going for like $500,000, which is just a total waste. Gregory says New Yorkers taking over everywhere. So I'll show you guys the office. So there's a WeWork. I think there's about 3 WeWorks here in Miami. Number 1 being right here at the Southeast Financial Center. Number 2 actually being in Wynwood. So Wynwood is sort of like the art and design district of Miami. And then lastly, there's one in South Beach, which is a little bit hard for me to get to. Well, it's technically not difficult for me to get to, but it would take a ridiculous amount of time for me to get there. Mike C says Florida seems to be holding its own in terms of real estate declines. So Mike C, I was looking at a report, and out of the markets that are seeing, so they analyzed 3 markets. They analyzed San Francisco, they analyzed Miami, and I believe they also analyzed, I think it was Phoenix. I want to say it was Phoenix. I'll get you guys this data. I'll put it in the stream recap. But every single market has been experiencing not a massive glut of supply coming onto the market, but enough to sort of probably make prices either slow down or come down a bit. I think Miami was the only market out of those 3 that hasn't seen that massive influx of inventory coming on the market. Hey, Otto is here, says, hey, Tom and chat, good to see you, Otto, welcome. Hope you had a good day, happy Wednesday. So here we are at the Southeast Financial Tower here. This is actually a really, really nice building. I wanted to start the stream from inside the office. So maybe next time, tomorrow, we will start off the stream from inside the office. But it's a very unique building. And Citadel Securities, their temporary office is in here as well. Abstract Angel Artist says, how is the Miami airport on a scale of 1 to 10? Maybe like an 8. Maybe like an 8. I'd say about an 8. Not too good, not too bad. But everybody, yesterday Walmart did report earnings. They reported EPS to earnings per share of about $1.77 versus the $1.62 that analysts expected. Revenue came in right at $152.86 billion versus $150.81 billion that was expected by analysts. But check this out. Let's talk about profitability here. Now, when we talk about profitability, we focus on a line item called net income. And Walmart reported about $5.15 billion in net income. The same quarter last year, they reported about $4.28 billion. So really, really strong. Really, really strong despite all of the inflationary pressures, despite all of the supply chain mishaps, and things of the like. So a pretty solid quarter. The only thing that I would say is maybe in terms of growth, I would shift our focus over to China, I would shift our focus over to Canada, and I would shift our focus over to Mexico. So aside from the United States, the biggest revenue growth actually came out of China, and the vast majority, I think over 58% of all the revenue growth in China actually came from e-commerce. So Walmart, not really traditionally recognized as an e-commerce business, but really, really posting huge, huge numbers in that event. Hey, 61 says, hello, Tom. Welcome back to Florida. Thank you, 61. It's good to be back. Definitely, definitely good to be back. So the Whole Foods is right here. And the Whole Foods is extremely ridiculously expensive. I was telling you guys, I bought, I'm gonna try this thing to eat a little bit less than a pound of fruit for lunch. Because usually right around like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, I tend to get a little bit fatigued just from doing work all day. And I think I'm gonna try this out. So I'm gonna see if the fruit will help out any. But this is the Whole Foods in downtown Miami. Jamie Massetti says Miami Airport is outdated now. So I usually fly American. The American Airlines terminals are a little bit newer, but I think the Delta terminals are definitely dated. I think you're right. Bob says Miami is busy airport with a takeoff and landing every 90 seconds. Wow. I didn't know that. You know, not for nothing, this is the first flight that I took all year that wasn't delayed or canceled. So I took off, I believe at about 10 o'clock on the dot. I landed about 2.5 hours later, 2 hours and 15 minutes later. And it was a pretty good experience, pretty decent experience. So one thing I will like to note is that JFK was totally empty, totally dead. But my flight was absolutely packed, absolutely packed. So for those of you guys who are unfamiliar with the Miami Stream, this is the Metro Mover right here. So essentially, obviously because we are in Miami, you can't have an underground subway. So our type of subway is elevated, which snakes throughout the entire city. You can go to Brickell, you can go all the way up to the FTX Arena near downtown Miami and the Freedom Tower. And to top it off, it's free, you don't have to pay, which is pretty good. The trolleys here are free, so if you need to take ground transportation, you can pretty much get where you want for free. If you take the regular bus, like the 3 or the H bus, that is, I think, about $2.25. If you look all the way over there, this is the City National Bank building, otherwise known as the Miami Tower. Hey, yes, Forever 18 says, I think Walmart one day will lose the dominant position to Target. Target partners with CVS expanding their grocery and healthcare business. They are eating Rite Aid and Walgreens pharmacies. So that could be possible, but I think Walmart has too much firepower where they could just do it themselves. So to your point, in the earnings report, I think one of their bright spots was actually their healthcare unit. So spending on health and wellness. Obviously Walmart has their own division of pharmacies as well. You know, the only sort of segment out of Walmart's earnings report that posted declines was like electronics, right? So obviously everybody that got stimulus checks and, you know, was getting 5 to 8% pay raises. This was probably later half of 2020, early to mid 2021. A lot of that spending went into consumer electronics, consumer goods. But now we're seeing a completely different shift, where we're seeing more people spend money and spend more money on necessities. So the food unit in Walmart did really well, did fantastic. But pretty much everything else suffered quite a bit. This is the Epic Hotel and Residences. This is a really nice place here. We'll take a quick walk by the water so you guys can see. Hey, Dusty Cole is here. What's up, Dusty? Welcome. Yeah, Mike C says consumer electronics declines doesn't bode that's the case. But if you think about it, I guess it makes sense, right? In the summer months, people tend to not spend as much money maybe on electronics or big ticket items. Maybe they'll rather wait to purchase those items around the holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas. So potentially we'll start to see that. All right, so this is the, I guess the parking area. I guess you could call it the valet area of the Epic hotels. There's always really nice cars here. The one thing I am surprised about, we are not seeing as many Teslas that we usually see. Hey, Albany County Sheriff, what's up? Says, hey Tom, Action Kid is right around the corner. Yeah, so right as I left the office today, I ran into AK. So we were working out of the 200 Southeast Financial Center tonight, and we ran into our pal AK. We were talking to him for maybe 20 minutes. Dusty Cole says, I could tell it's Miami with a few seconds. You Love My says, pros and cons between Miami Financial District versus New York Financial District. Well, I think they're very, very different. It's very big here on obviously like Latin American banks and things like that. But we are starting to see more notable names move to Southern Florida. Now, even though maybe I'm a little bit biased, so I try to always check my biases here, I still think that New York will always be the financial capital, the financial center of the world. I don't think that'll change. But with the new sort of world that we live in, what I think is probably going to happen is we are going to have multiple satellite locations across the United States and across the world. So if you work in a big bank or you work at a big tech company, I think your employer is going to afford you with the flexibility maybe to work, 1 or 2 months in New York, 1 or 2 months in Miami, 1 or 2 months in Shanghai, or wherever your corporate offices are. And I think that'll actually be better for productivity. To be quite honest. But I think in terms of if you want to start a career in finance, I still think the place to do it is New York. Tech, probably not so much. I mean, there's more tech hubs like Denver, Colorado. I would say Phoenix, Arizona to an extent. Miami, Florida, obviously, another big one. But over here across this bridge, which we may go to tonight, is the downtown Brickell area. Hey, Shop by Scott, what's up? Says that's Tom's Lambo, don't let him fool you. Good to see you, Scott, welcome. So Shop by Scott is one of our good friends here on the stream. He is a Miami-based photographer. Always good to see you. So obviously we know that revenue beat analyst expectations, with Walmart reporting about $152 billion worth of revenue, but let's sort of break down where that revenue came from. So the majority, I would say probably about 20%. Actually, I don't really want to assign a number for it, but if I just had to guess. But some of the sales gains came from inflation. But also, I think the most important thing to note is that a lot of the sales gains in terms of new customer acquisition came from families with a household income of about $150,000 or more. And on the earnings conference call, Walmart's CEO said this was very, very uncharacteristic in the business to see something like this. And I think the reason is because not just the lower class and the middle class are seeing their wallets pinched by inflation. I think everybody is. I think that's essentially what that data point tells you. So the concerning thing for me is, could companies like Amazon take a hit because their Whole Foods division maybe is losing customers to Walmart? One of my theses that I have is that on August 25th, when the Dollar General reports, I think they are going to beat earnings estimates or analyst expectations by a really, really wide margin here. Because if you saw a record, I think about about three quarters of the brand new customer acquisition or new customers shopping in Walmart came from household incomes of $150,000 or more. Now, if you guys want to see the investor deck for yourself, if you type WMT in the chat, so WMT in the chat, you will be able to follow along and even maybe read for yourself, if you have some time, the investor deck for Walmart, where they break down line item by line item what goods and services sold, what goods and services didn't sell, and the like. Hey, Aston says, if we lose Miami due to flooding, where do you think it will move to? I think that's just so implausible. Hey, the investigator's here. Good to see you. Welcome. Good to see the investigator. Marilyn is here. This is a way too long, too busy. Good to see you. Good to see you, Marilyn. Welcome. Scott Briggs. This is boats just eat money, especially gigantic cabin cruisers, huge sailboats. You know, I was watching an interesting, I really wouldn't call it documentary, but I would say YouTube video about the profitability of boating businesses down here in Miami. It would surprise you. People pay a lot of money for that stuff. $61, good to see you. Copy that, over and out. Mike C says, do households making more than $150K shop at Walmart? Yeah, I mean, so one of the things I wanted to bring up, how do you think they track that type of data, right? I mean, maybe they could sort of track that through like online sales, but I've always wondered that, like, how would they know, right? How would they know if a customer makes a specific amount of money or not? I don't know, I think it just has to do with maybe the credit cards, right? So let's say if you maybe pay with an American Express credit card or something like that, or like a Chase Sapphire card. Potentially they could extort some data from that. Speaking of credit card and debit card spending, another notable thing from the earnings conference call, the chief financial officer for Walmart said that there was a noticeable, to use his words, an extremely noticeable uptick in consumers spending at Walmart with credit as opposed to debit. Now, I think everybody on the stream knows what that means. But just as a quick review, debit essentially comes directly out of a debit account, which is like a checking or savings account or something like that. So you can essentially just say paying for cash with things. Credit card is, you can leave a balance on the credit card and pay the minimum payment. So is this another sort of leading indicator coming out of this earnings report to say that consumers are hurting, so they don't have enough cash up front, so they're sort of letting it sit on the card and potentially paying the minimum balance? Now, I think one of the ways that we could probably conclude that that's the case is that consumer household debt did just hit an all-time record high again, I think for the second or third consecutive month in a row. So I think these are all things we need to be cognizant of as we try to formulate investing theses, because let's figure out which companies sell nice-to-have products as opposed to the companies that sell the must-have products. I mean, if you go to Walmart, you have to buy food, you have to buy baby formula, the essentials, right? But when you go to Walmart, you don't have to buy the TVs, you don't have to buy all the mobile phones, you don't have to buy all of the electronics that are the nice-to-haves. And that's exactly what we saw in the earnings report, where almost every single category in terms of same-store sales or year-over-year sales grew except electronics. So I think that's very telling in itself. Hey, Austin City Limits, what's up? Good to see you. Fanatical says it's quiet because the snowbirds haven't come down yet. Yeah, they'll definitely be here soon. I think the vast majority of the snowbirds tend to come down, I don't know, maybe I would say October, end of October maybe. Hey, 925 says, what's up, Tom? Glad to see you're in Miami. A fun thing to do if you haven't is go game fishing for marlin. Wow, I didn't know that. So the only thing I may not like about that is I tend to get seasick. I'm not really that big of a boater, but maybe I'll try it. I'm down. One of my favorite views here in Miami is the Metro Mover going over this bridge here. I think it's amazing. Hey, Martin says, how do you like the humidity, Tom? Humidity's not too bad today, but I actually kind of like it. If you guys remember last week on the stream, we were obviously streaming from New York City, and that humidity was probably some of the worst I've ever experienced. And that's coming from a person who likes humidity, but that was really, really humid there in New York. Let's see what kind of boat we have coming by here. So a little bit of anecdotal data, everybody. So the moment I landed in Miami, I obviously did a couple things around the house, did some gardening, weeded some stuff. But then at night, I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't eat dinner. So where did I go? I actually went to Walmart. Really quick, if you look all the way over here, this is the KPMG building. And that's actually another WeWork where I tend to work at it. But that one's always packed. There's so many people there, so I try not to go there as often. But so I went to Walmart about 15 minutes before the store was about to close. Literally 15 minutes before it was about to close. And the place was absolutely mobbed. And the line was so long at Walmart 15 minutes before it was about to close here in Miami that the line stretched all the way to the back of the store where you were literally touching the dairy section. And so I timed it, and if you guys are following me on Twitter, if you follow @WalksWallStreet, I think I tweeted, I'm like, 15 minutes before closing, and the line is all the way down to the back of the store. I wonder how Walmart's earnings report went. And lo and behold, it went pretty well. So usually I don't go shopping at that particular Walmart 15 minutes before it's about to close. Usually I just go during, either in the early morning, and it's still long, but it's not that long. Which leads me to believe, as people are back to work, as the kids are going back to school, that was another bright section in Walmart's earnings report. They said a lot of the back to school categories absolutely went gangbusters. I think this is the particular time when people actually have to shop. So maybe the statistics or the data there was a little bit skewed, but I kid you not, it took me to after the store closed to actually get out and pay for my items. So really, really crazy. And I think I actually have a picture here. I want to show you guys just how crazy it is, because we are on the topic of Walmart's earnings report. So check out this picture. The line extends all the way down into the back. And I took this picture when I was halfway through the. So just as a little bit of impromptu market research there for you guys. But this is they call it like a mini Manhattan. This is called Brickell, also Mary Brickell Village, and the Brickell City Center. Beautiful view from across the river here. Austin City Limits is Tom. Everyone was wrong about Walmart's earnings. Yeah. It's one of those things where the bad news was actually the good news, right? Because on the conference call, the CEO and the CFO said that we actually benefited from people trading down. I even wrote down on my notepad, because the CEO must have said the term trading down like 50,000 times. I mean, almost to the point where it got annoying. And he really, really made the point that even though some of our name brand products and consumer electronics did extremely, extremely poorly, we more so than made up for it with customers that make about $150,000 a year trading down from shopping at places like Whole Foods, Publix, or wherever they shop at, to actually shop at Walmart. So they got a massive, massive influx of new business and new revenues. And with the new influx of revenues, a lot of it, not all of it, but a lot of it actually went to general brand products, right? So let's say if you want to buy, I don't know, I'll just name a random cereal, Captain Crunch or something. That's like a name brand. The store brand would be like, whatever the corny names are for the products. More people are trading down and buying those particular things. And funny enough, there's actually more profit margin in selling those particular items. I'll give you guys one more view of across the river. Hey, Sunshine After Rain is here. Good to see you, Sunshine. Hopefully you are well. It's good to be back in Miami. John says most apartments stand empty. Here, no. It's so crazy here that there's literally bidding wars for people to get an apartment here in Brickell. Billionaires Row, maybe near Sunny Isles Beach. You're correct. Billionaires Row in New York City. 59th, 57th Street. Yeah, a lot of those sit completely empty. These ones, I actually know quite a few people that live in those buildings, slam packed. There's literally like zero vacancy there. And it's gotten to the point where it's so nuts that people are actually offering to pay like 6 months of their rent up front, a whole year of their rent up front, to which actually New York City, I think, put something in place where you're actually not allowed to do that. You're actually not allowed to pay 12 months in advance. Hey, Ed T says, I find myself going to the store brand more often these days. Yeah, I mean, do you think that there's actually a difference? What do you guys think? Do you think there's actually that much of a material difference between the store brand and the name brand? I would probably argue probably not. War Walker, good to see you. DWG says no. Yeah, there's probably not much of a difference. Sunshine After Rain says, yeah, there's a huge difference. I don't know, I may have to do a taste test there for some market research. Buy like a General Mills cereal and then generic Walmart brand cereal and see what the difference is. Hey, Anonymous is here. Welcome. Good to see you, my friend. Hope you're well. So we're walking across the bridge. We're going to have a good view the entire way. I think if we just go up a little bit further, we're going to be able to see the Wells Fargo building, which should be nice. Wow, check that out. So this is the Wells Fargo building. If you look directly to the left, that's where I work out of. And then this is where the Metro Mover takes you from downtown Miami to Brickell. GGNYC, good to see you. Welcome. Hey, Sunshine NYC, good to see you. Yeah, John's is totally developed. You know, somebody was telling me, because I'm actually not too familiar with the Brickell area, maybe about 2 or 3 years familiar. Supposedly only about 7 years ago, like if you were to come here 7 years ago, this place would have looked totally different. So I'm not sure if you can make it out on the camera, but here is the WeWork building, but it's also shared with the KPMG building. And the reason why I don't choose to work out of this building, this particular WeWork, even though it is much nicer, it's so crowded, it's like you'll never get any work done. Because WeWork is like one of those co-sharing office type places, and there's never an empty seat, ever, in Brickell. But everywhere else there is. This is the City National Bank building, also known as the Miami Tower. Now, the Aston Martin building is going to be completed relatively soon, and I believe it's going to be lit up just like this at night. I'm not sure what color, I'm not sure if it's going to change colors, but it should be lit up in similar style and fashion. Hey, War Walker says, I read somewhere there that there's permits approved for 4 to 5 thin skyscrapers. Yeah, well, what about the Waldorf Astoria building? I think the Waldorf Astoria is going to be, I believe, the tallest residential tower south of One World Trade Center. I think they're going to build that here too. If you guys are familiar with Sunny Isles Beach, the Bentley Tower should be complete in 2026. Now, those are just ridiculous, those type of projects. I mean, Usually the people who buy those are either foreign investors, and they're probably not even there half the time. So, hey, Brian Forrest is here. Welcome, Brian. Good to see you. Mike Cease's fake Dr. Pepper is not as good as the real Dr. Pepper. So here's a little bit of, now that we're on the topic of Walmart's earnings, I'll give you a little bit of a price comparison. Now, it may not be, I guess it's really not apples to apples, but I was in the Whole Foods today, downtown Miami, to get some lunch. I'm like, you know what, I'm only just gonna get fruit for lunch. I'm gonna try that for 30 days, eat a little bit less than a pound of fruit, see how it goes. It was like $9.75 for a little bit over a half a pound of fruit, like mixed berries. It was nuts. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back to the Walmart uptown where I live and see what the price difference is, because I bought a whole massive bag of shrimp because I like to cook shrimp on the charcoal barbecue. Obviously, coming from New York, you're not allowed to have them in many instances in the city. So the first thing I did when I moved down here, I'm like, I'm gonna buy a charcoal barbecue. And I usually grill a lot of shrimp. I eat a lot of shrimp during the week. It cost me like $5 for a massive bag of jumbo shrimp. Very, very affordable, I think. Yeah, Dusty Cole says that's way too much, dude, isn't it? It's nuts. So here's what I think I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do one of two things. Number one, I'm probably just gonna go out in the backyard before I go to work, pick a couple mangoes off the trees, make sure they're ripe, and just cut them up and bring them to work. Because I have mango trees right in my backyard. So I might as well just do that. Or I was looking up, I've learned everything on YouTube. Here's a really good life hack if you want to save some money eating fruit. If you buy the frozen fruit and just thaw it out, you can eat a ton of really good mixed berries and all that stuff for a fraction of the cost. All right, so everybody, this is now the shops at Brickell City Center. And this is kind of like an indoor-outdoor mall. I know we have a lot of new viewers, so I guess I'll sort of explain what it is. We'll go in here for a minute. This coffee shop, I actually believe, is in Williamsburg. I think I've actually been here before in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. It's either in Williamsburg or Greenpoint. We'll check it out. But they opened up a location here in the Wynwood district, which is sort of like the design district. You could think about like a Soho, sort of like artsy design district, but there's one here too. I think this place is closing, so we may have to head out. I noticed all like the trendy places in Brooklyn also open a place here in Miami. Yeah, so if you notice, this is technically an indoor mall, but it's outdoors as well. It's like indoor-outdoor. Hey, Ibrahim Azam is here. The Mighty Bull's in the room. Good to see you, Mighty Bull. Welcome. Trust you are well. Oh, look at these two Shiba Inu dogs. These are really nice. One thing I noticed about Miami, almost every single person that lives here owns a dog. Almost every single person. So here's something that came out of the Walmart earnings report, everybody, and we sort of just touched on this, but I want to read you an exact excerpt of what the CEO said. Trading down was used over and over on the earnings conference call. The CEO said also customers were increasingly using their credit cards to purchase goods and services, opting for that option over debit cards. Consumers were also opting for smaller packaged food and frozen food, and buying items such as canned tuna, beans, and frozen vegetables at almost a 50% higher rate year over year quarter. So that pretty much tells you all you need to know. People are trying to save money. people are adjusting their spending habits. And I think it's a smart move. You know, if you go to Walmart and you spend $200, $300 and you load up on massive amounts of frozen vegetables, frozen fruit, and you just cut back on eating out, you could actually eat pretty well for a pretty long period of time while saving money. So potentially this will work into Walmart's favor. Also, everybody, watch that Dollar General earnings report that's coming up. Anonymous is never good to use credit card to buy food. We are in a recession, says Anonymous. Well, I mean, it seems like a lot of people, that's what they're doing. Ah, Lynn, yes, this is when they are ripe, of course. Hey, Christian Hansen is here. Good to see you. This is Dogs in the Mall. That's new to me. Yeah, I think because it's like an indoor/outdoor type place, it's really nice. You know, during the day, this place is really, really crowded. But it tends to file out at night. These apartments are really cool. So you look directly over the Brickell City Center. Dusty Cole says, Tom, do you own a dog? I do have a dog. I have a beagle. But my beagle is very, very old now. Still love him. Sabrina Fair is here. Welcome. So this has anybody tried frozen grapes? Those are my favorite. Try frozen cherries too. Buy a bag of cherries and freeze them. I think you're gonna like it. Mike C says, if we have a negative GDP for a third straight quarter, will the White House finally concede a recession? So here's my take on that. I don't think it matters all that much. My technical definition is the standard, right? 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth. I really don't think it'll matter that much. I mean, at the end of the day, if the White House says it is or isn't, I don't think that's going to change things. I do see your point, but I think more importantly is that the only thing that I see that's very, very different this time, and I know that it's always important to say it's never different this time, but it is. Just look at the consumer behavior spending habits. They're merely shifting. Now, I know tonight's stream we're talking about Walmart and the like, but if you even go deeper than that and sort of understand that, yeah, at a Walmart's earnings report, people are spending a lot less money on electronics, but take a look over at some of the airlines' earnings. Take a look over at, you know, the cruise liners and the hotels like Marriott, you know, the Wynn Resorts, all of them. You know, they're seeing record bookings. They're seeing absolutely record bookings. And I think the reason for that is because you shut down the world and you told everybody they had to sit home for 2 years. So I think people are merely just shifting what they spend their money on. And we're seeing like travel, discretionary, even Airbnb. In Airbnb's earnings report, they came out and said they had absolute record bookings. They've never had more bookings on their website ever than they did have last quarter. So I think the consumer is still relatively healthy. I think it's just they're very, very selective on what they choose to spend their money on, to be honest. The investigator says, Walks on Wall Street, the feds are giving out an extra $100+ each month to SNAP/food stamp recipients. And of course they could spend it at Walmart. Yeah, so I'm actually not opposed to that. I'm actually not opposed to that at all. This is one of my favorite spots in Miami. You are overlooking Mary Brickell Village. Hey, Brad's Brains is flying to H-Town next week again, about $450 round trip. Wow. So Brad, I think I paid about, what did I pay? I think I paid about $130 for my trip from New York to Miami. I used to pay $50. I used to pay $50, so hopefully those prices will come down. You know, another bright spot in Walmart's earnings report was the Sam's Club memberships. And there's a lot of talk on the street that customers that used to frequent Whole Foods and the like are now actually choosing to spend that money on a membership at like a BJ's, a Sam's Club, where they can go to the store one time and stock up on a bunch of stuff. So Sam's Club membership grew, I believe, 9% year over year, which was a record. The investigator says, I'm not opposed to it, but it explains why Walmart sales have increased. That's definitely probably one of the reasons. The investigator, another reason is, which we know 100% to be fact, this is Saks Fifth Avenue, by the way, right here. So they have a Saks Fifth Avenue in New York, they have one here too. A lot of similarities, but Walmart attracted a record amount of customers that have an average household income in the range of $100,000 to $150,000. And that hasn't been the case before. So maybe it's not just the lower class that is really feeling the pinch here. And again, on Walmart's earnings conference call, they probably used the term trading down like 50,000 times. Hey, Mustafa is here. Says, hey everybody, what's up, Mustafa? Welcome. Ibrahim Azam says, yes, I heard about that. Wealthy people are starting to shop at Walmart. Yeah, I mean, I think it just comes to the point where prices are just getting too insane. Right now, I know technically, you know, that CPI number is coming down, but as you guys know, because you've been watching the streams, the CPI is 33% shelter. And a big majority of the weighting is food you make at home. And one of the really only savings graces that we had in the CPI report that brought things down a little bit was energy, right? Price of gasoline, crude oil's coming down. Everything else is still going up, right? Shelter, a year-over-year increase was 5.1%. Food year-over-year increase was, I think, 7.1%. If you type exclamation point CPI in the chat, it'll actually drop a link to the CPI report. So it seems like everybody's feeling the inflationary pinch. Manchu says, not for nothing, Walmarts are less than hygienic places to be buying food items. Incidents where teens tasted ice cream and then proceeded to put it back on the shelves has occurred. That is a felony. That's an interesting take, but I think that may be a little bit of an anecdote, perhaps. Like, I do understand that, like, ridiculous things happen, right? But I don't think, and again, I respect your take, and I think it's a very valid point. However, I think that may be a little bit of an anecdote, just to say, oh, Walmarts aren't hygienic because there was one idiot on TikTok that was licking an ice cream cone or something and put it back. The Walmarts that I've been into were fine. You know, the employees have been nice. I mean, I think they keep it clean. I think they take it seriously, food health and everything. But yeah, I mean, I think I heard about that too. I didn't know it was in a Walmart store, but I try to refrain from making anecdotes the general consensus. Brad's Brain says, I'm a Target guy. Okay, I got to look into Target's earnings. I didn't have time. I was too busy scrutinizing Walmart's, but I think it was pretty much the same as usual, right? Inventories are building. However, so here's the good news in relation to inventories, because we've been beating this like a dead horse on the stream. But first, these are my two favorite buildings in Brickell, these two right here. The CEO and the Chief Financial Officer of Walmart on the conference call yesterday said that they think that they can blow out all of their excess inventory by Halloween, which is actually pretty good news. And one of the ways that they were able to do that, as discussed on the call, one of the reasons why they were able to do that is because they canceled a ton of orders at OEMs and manufacturers. And we said this would happen. Because when inventories build up, the next thing that happens is big retailers, big box retailers start to cancel orders. So this could be a little bit of a trickle-down effect. We'll see how it affects people. NT's Target store brand aren't as good as Walmart brand, from my experience. So what is the name of the Walmart brand? I think it's called Wellness. I forget. War Walker says the suburbs have the cleanest Walmarts. Somebody says Equate. For some reason I thought it was Wellness Brands. I could be mixing some things up. You know, I know the generic brand of Whole Foods is 365. I know that those are actually pretty good. Running at altitude says gas is also cheaper at membership clubs. So maybe that's the reason why. Ooh, this is a nice Tesla, everybody. So maybe that's the reason why Walmart this quarter experienced the best year-over-year growth in memberships to Sam's Club in quite some time. It could be because people are trying to save money on fuel. Does anybody know what the discount is if you buy gasoline at like a Sam's Club or something like that? Maybe it's like 20 cents off a gallon, something similar. Robert says, yes, Costco is Kirkland. I actually really like Kirkland brand stuff. Here, I'll give you guys one more look at the Brickell City Center, and then we will walk a little bit down down to Mary Brickell building. So this is the KPMG building, but there's also the WeWork there. Somebody says you get 40 cents off a gallon at Stop and Shop. That's actually pretty good. Gregory, good to see you. 40 cents off, not bad. Definitely adds up. Anonymous says it's only 5 cents off at Sam's Club. 61 says I pay about 60 cents less a gallon at Costco. Wow, check out this parking garage for this luxury apartment building. Christian Wilson says if the Tesla Semi is as good as promised, that's huge. Yeah, so Christian, we actually had a conversation about that last week on the stream. Now, there's always this conversation about hydro electric power, or hydrogen, I should say, and traditional EV battery technology. Now, I'm definitely not smart enough to understand or to know which one's going to win out in the end. But if I had to guess, oh, look at this dog. But if I had to guess, I'd probably say traditional EV battery technology, I'd say. Susanna says Walmart pharmacy brands. They're called Equate. And the food is great value. Nice, love that. So supposedly this establishment across the street, Moxie's, is like a very famous place. I don't know, very seldom do I eat down here, but so I think we're running up against the hour mark. I want to walk down here, but we have to go all the way back to downtown Miami. So we'll cross the street and then we'll head back. I'll take you guys with me. Robert says if you can live without a car, do it. That's what I'm trying to do. I definitely don't want to purchase a car anytime soon. DA's Sam's Club near me closed down a few years ago and Amazon took it over. One says, hey Tom, you and Action Kid should collab. He is in Miami too. Yeah, I actually just met up with him right as I started my live stream. I ran into him. So I believe he was walking past my office right as I was walking out. So yeah, I see Action Kid all the time. I talk to him all the time. If you rewind to the beginning of the video, I started off the stream right outside of my office with him. Anonymous says Miami is not a bad place if you live without a car, as long as you can live near the metro rail. That's true. So I don't have a car here, and I actually live pretty far away from here. I just take the bus. I've never had an issue with the Miami public transportation, to be honest. Hey, Natalie says, good evening, Tom and everybody. What's up, Natalie? Welcome. Trust you're well. Hope you're well. Warwalker's like, Tom, I don't know how you walk so far. I could only make it half a block. I think the reason is because the majority of the day I'm just sitting in an office, either on conference calls, either just making calls, prospecting for new business. So it's almost like you're itching to get outside to do something. Ooh, I didn't know that. NMB 045 says, Tom, Moxie's is a Canadian restaurant. I didn't know that. Is it really a Canadian restaurant, NMB 045? A lot of the restaurants down here in like the Brickell, Mary Brickell Village are extremely, extremely expensive though. That's the only downside. The LT Prod, good to see you. Yeah, there is a Lucid right here. Lucid Motors. Melee is here, says, hey Tom and everybody, good to see you. Good to see you as well. Harry Connors says, when did the buses stop running? So they're 24/7. During COVID, they used to only run, I think, up until midnight. But they're fine now. I've never really had an issue. So as we wait for the red light, if we break it down, it says grocery had low double-digit sales growth, health and wellness had high single-digit sales growth. However, general merchandise had mid to single-digit sales declines. So those are the three main categories at Walmart. So there's grocery, then you have your health and wellness, and then you have your general merchandise. We were 2 for 3, so 2 out of 3 categories had actually expanding or growth in sales, and then obviously general merchandise, which really I think you could pretty much break it down into 2 distinct categories, which is number 1, electronics, number 2, apparel, so clothing and things like that. Those actually had steep declines. So to me, if I had to break this down as a financial analyst, one of the things that I could probably conclude from this is that people are spending more on must-haves as opposed to wants. Now again, we talked about how this actually surprisingly worked into Walmart's advantage because a lot of the general brand, the Walmart branded items actually carry higher profit margins, higher profitability, which leads me to my next point, that on August 25th, the Dollar General will be reporting earnings. I think we're gonna have a monster quarter at a Dollar General. A monster quarter. But this is the Lucid EV site. So, last thing before I forget, I sort of have to compact this stream into only an hour and a half. So another interesting thing on the conference call, I believe one of the analysts from Jefferies, so Jefferies is a major financial firm. One of the analysts on Jefferies actually came out and said, what do you think the difference is between this economic downturn and 2008, and how is Walmart better prepared or least prepared to deal with those changes? And I think the answer that the Walmart team gave was actually pretty good. And it makes a lot of sense. So think about the different sales verticals that Walmart has now as opposed to what they had in 2008. And this includes the way Walmart actually sells to customers, right? I think it's considered the way Walmart sells to customers. So number one, a lot of Walmart's sales is actually made up of their e-commerce business. So as we talked about a couple live streams ago, think about all of the old retailers that are no longer in business, like Circuit City, Radio Shack, and the like. Those particular businesses are now out of business because they did not adapt to e-commerce. Walmart actually does a lot of their sales, even grocery now, food and grocery, through e-commerce. So the CEO of Walmart says, you know, we have e-commerce to support us throughout a recessionary environment. We have home delivery, we have order online, in-store pickup, and we also have a much stronger international presence. And I never really thought about that, but Walmart's presence presence, I should say, in Mexico, in Canada, and in China is very, very strong. And I think 50% of all of Walmart's revenue that comes out of China is actually e-commerce or online sales. And I think we could pretty much say that about every single business, right? There's more touch points to your customer now than ever before. You know, instead of somebody having to go into the store physically, you could just order things online. Advertising is a lot more directed now, obviously with the full adoption of the internet and cloud computing. So there's just so many other verticals where Walmart can turn themselves into a profit center. So I thought those were good comebacks to the call. Hey, Rusty Golfers is one of the most elitist statements I have ever heard, the ice cream thing. Yeah, I don't know, Rusty. Speaking of golf, I played golf. I had a little golf outing. Didn't do too well, not a big golfer. But let's just say this, I didn't do as bad as I had expected. Let's just say that. I don't think I performed as bad as I expected. Hey, Lisa says, thank you, have a good night, see you tomorrow. Thank you so much, Lisa, for joining. Chris Beeman is here, welcome, Chris. Chris is joining us from the one and only Phoenix, Arizona. Good to see you. Photos from around New York says, how was the outing? It was good. It wasn't bad. Really hot, like crazy, crazy hot. So the hottest point, I think, out of the year in Miami is right now. You know, mid-August, early to mid-August. Really humid, and the sun felt like it was right on top of you, but it was good. Decent outing. East Coast is here. Says, hey, Tom, what's up, East Coast? Photos from around New York, it was 18 holes, dude. And we went the distance, and it was a lot. But it was a good time. I had a good time. I had fun. Ed T says, Tom, Stone is having earnings tomorrow. A Brazilian fintech. I'm not even familiar with that particular company. I'll have to do my research on it. You know, a fintech that I am watching rather closely, I'm not sure if you guys have heard of it, I think you guys have probably heard of it, is called Toast. T-O-A-S-T. They're actually a direct competitor with Square, so I have my eyes on that. Ellen So is here, says, oh yeah, I'm here, good to see you. T-Rex is Walks from Wall Street. Got to get your take on Bed Bath & Beyond stock future between now and the end of the year. Mighty Bull, thank you so much for your donation. You're too kind. You're very, very kind. Thank you so much, Mighty Bull, says, for your tireless professionalism. Thank you, Mighty Bull. I appreciate it. But I'll give you my take on the whole Bed Bath & Beyond thing. And I've been getting a ton of emails too, everybody. So if I haven't gotten back to your email, just give me 2 seconds and I promise you I'll return every email. But I've been getting a lot lately. Here's what I would say. I would not exhaust your time even worrying about Bed Bath & Beyond, GameStop, AMC. If I had to give any advice, I would totally just tune it out. These are just like short squeeze events where you have the overall float of a particular stock that is heavily sold short, and you have some really, I would say probably snarky hedge funds on Wall Street that are just trying to, manipulate and fade the price around. I think time would be better addressed elsewhere. Bed Bath & Beyond is a business that is in structural decline. Their earnings have declined, I think, year over year for the past 7 years. This is just going to be another way for the financial media to stir up advertising spending, to get people talking about it, and to boost ratings. If I had to really be blunt, I don't think this is worth your time at all. It could go to $1 million and I wouldn't even pay attention to it. I think the way you're going to make money over the long term, right, and have long-term success is focusing on a lot of the things we talk about on the stream. So solid fundamental businesses that are compounding out their earnings at an annualized growth rate of, let's say, 25% plus year over year. A company that has solid return on equity, extremely high pre-tax and after-tax margins. Focus on those companies that are in a massive, massive total addressable market or expanding TAM. I would not get caught up in the frenzy of the GameStops and all this nonsense, because it is exactly that. It's just nonsense. Hey, Scotland 638. Good to see you, Scotland. Welcome to all of our friends in Scotland. Google says 100% agreed, Tom. This is just trying to play the casino right now. Yeah, well, I mean, it's really not based in fundamentals, but one thing that I can guarantee you is that all equities or all securities return to their fair market value at some point. You may have a random walk where valuations get extended to the upside. You may have a random walk where valuations get extended to the downside. Really nice Tesla to the right. But they will return to what it's worth. I think this goes back to what we were talking about. There's one of my most famous Peter Lynch quotes. So if you guys are new to the stream, one of the recommendations that I would give is to read a book called One Up on Wall Street by Peter Lynch. Wow, check out the Bank of America building tonight. Looks great. And Peter Lynch used to run the Fidelity Magellan Fund, which was the most successful mutual fund on Wall Street during its time. And one of the things he said is this, and it resonated with me forever. He said that some people will sit on the subway, or they'll go to a bar out drinking with their friends, and they'll overhear somebody talking about a particular stock. And without even thinking about it, they'll put $100,000 of their hard-earned money into a stock that they just got tipped off about for 15 minutes at a bar. But if somebody's in the market to buy a new refrigerator, a new television, a new washer dryer, they spend hours researching all the pros and cons of the washer dryer, of the refrigerator. They go to each and every single store to try to see what the best bargain is. They ask their neighbor, they ask their friends, they do extensive market research. And this is maybe $1,000 purchase. But people are willing to drop, $100,000 on GameStop just off of a whim, right? And I think one of the reasons for that is there was actually a study done. One of the most famous psychologists, I forget his name, I'm going to drop the study in the stream recap. But he says it doesn't matter the monetary value, the physical asset is what is perceived as value in the eye of the beholder. So what does that mean? Something that you could see every day, you drive in it, like this Tesla right here. Oh, is this Tesla? I don't know. Let me see. No, I don't think so. Weird. Or maybe they just customized the Tesla. Teslas don't look like that. Anyway, I get distracted by Teslas. But if you can wake up and see something every day, use it, put your hands on it, it's a part of your life, you are inherently going to assign more value to that than something that's not tangible. And it sounds so weird because you could, have $1 million worth of stock It's way more valuable than the $500 refrigerator, but subconsciously you automatically assign more value to it because it's technically not real, it's intangible. And this sort of goes back to when I was selling software and hardware into the home healthcare business. I was sort of trying to explain this to a lot of C-level executives. I said, look, you're having incredible amount of employee turnover in the home healthcare industry. And your great idea to try to retain those employees is to give them a $1,500 sign-on bonus. I'm like, the only problem is they don't care about the $1,500 sign-on bonus. What they do is they take the bonus, and then after 6 months, they walk down the street to the next home healthcare agency and get the $1,500 sign-on bonus. It's not tangible. What you could do is provide them with a device, put all of their work tools on that device, and also tell them, look, we're going to pay for your phone bill, we're going to pay for your internet bill. You can use unlimited talk, text, and data. You can use it as a hotspot, so you could power the internet at all your remote devices if your kids are doing remote schooling, so there's value there. You can put your personal pictures on it, you can call internationally, and now that's something real. That's an anchor weight to the business. It may not be worth $1,500, it may be worth a little bit less, but if you think about it, they're holding it in their hand every day, they're clocking in and out on it, they're uploading their patient documents and their logs on it. It's tangible. That's what's going to drive employer retention. So it's the same concept with stocks. People will have a stock tip from a friend who knows nothing about finances, and they'll load 10, 20 grand in there. But for something that's tangible, like buying an iPhone, there's so much scrutiny and so much work. I don't know, I thought it was rather interesting. T-Rex is, hey, Tom walks to Wall Street. So you'd more quickly side with Ray Dalio type ethics than the ethos of a common folk retail investor? No. So I think so T-Rex, here's what I'll say about that. I think the media has been very, very divisive and manipulative in this. And they're claiming, like if you watch Fox Business, and again, I don't want to knock the guy who runs it. I mean, he's a good guy, he's a smart guy, but they'll claim, oh, we're up against the big Wall Street guys. Everybody go buy GameStop. I mean, what you should be doing is you should be explaining to these people how the market actually works, right? When you buy a share of a stock, you should be thinking about it as you're buying a little fraction of the business. And if the business doesn't produce any free cash flows, if the business isn't profitable, if the business has declining revenues and a declining total addressable market, well, that's not a good investment. That's not something I want to own, right? Rather, if they framed it the correct way, they would actually help people. I don't believe the narrative that it's Wall Street against the little guys, because essentially what they're trying to say is, oh, the payment for order flow is the Wall Street guys against the little guys, and they're unethical because they're doing payment for order flow. Payment for order flow has been going on for years. It is so common, and if anything, if you didn't have payment for order flow, you wouldn't have all these free trades, right? And that's just the reality of it. But the average person is not as tuned in with how the mechanics of the market works, right? If there was no payment for order flow, you'd be paying $50 on the bid and the offer, and that's just the truth. The only reason why Robinhood can offer these quote-unquote free trades is because they're selling your order flow to quantitative shops that make the market, right? And I actually think that's pretty good. Back in the day, if you wanted to buy a stock, you'd have to pay $50, sometimes more, right? Depending on your lot size. So the reason why retail investors are losing money is not because Citadel is taking a couple pennies off of them on the bid and the ask. But I don't know. That's sort of my opinion. Hey, Mike C. Good to see you. Welcome. So this is the City National Bank building, or the Miami Tower. I don't know, I think that's pretty good advice, because at the end of the day, Bed Bath & Beyond is probably going to be out of business in 10 years. And if you own the stock, I mean, the stock's probably going to go to zero over 10 years. But if you own a business that's compounding out its earnings 25%, and they always get on the earnings call and they said, hey, great news, we just made an acquisition which in turn expanded our total addressable market by a couple $billion, I'd much rather own that business than, a GameStop. It's not to say I'm against GameStop the company, it's just reality. Susanna says, I buy mostly brand names, non-perishable items at Walmart because the prices are lower. For perishables, you find better quality and variety in upscale grocery stores. Yeah, I was just telling the group, I actually went into this Whole Foods today, and a little thing of fruit, it was ridiculous. It was, a little bit less than $10. It's crazy. Photos from around New York's like, I have not had great experiences inside Bed Bath & Beyond. Yeah, and I mean, I'm not saying that Bed Bath & Beyond is like a bad place. I may have been into it like a handful of times. But what I'm trying to say is like, the world adapts, right? Look at how many businesses Amazon put out, right? I just think in this market, yeah, you can have discrepancies where if a company is so oversold short, there could be a short squeeze play there. Yeah, but that's only like very short term. That's very like short term trading. It's just not really what I do. But T-Rex's Walks on Wall Street. How about newer companies with gigantic subscriber bases but struggling to churn a profit via Shopify? Yeah, so the problem with that, T-Rex, and you make a good point, and we've been talking about this almost ad nauseum on this channel, is the only reason why those businesses are able to exist. There's actually a terminology for it on the street. It's called zombie companies. I wouldn't necessarily put Shopify into the zombie company category, but I get your point. A lot of these like SaaS subscription-based businesses are able to operate at operating losses because interest rates are so low, right? So the theory is if I can essentially operate at a loss and buy customers, like they're literally just buying customers. The only reason why they're able to do that is because they could just in perpetuity take on new debt acquisition. So if they constantly take on new debt, they can use the newer debt to service the existing debt, and it's a perpetual cycle, right? So ever since the lows of 2008, we've been in that environment where rates have historically been suppressed. So that allows all of this irrational exuberance, all of these zombie companies to exist. But as interest rates go up, a lot of those companies are going to go bankrupt, and that's why we've seen after January. Look at the companies that took the hardest hit, down 70 to 90%. They were the Pelotons of the world, right? They were all of those very high beta SaaS software as a service companies that were operating on operating losses because they were just focused on top line revenue growth. So I think you make a fantastic point. But I think the problem there and the reason why that happened, or it's been allowed to happen, is because of suppressed rates, right? I could just take on new debt all the time, all day, every day to service the existing debt, and then use the new debt to acquire customers, advertising spending. T-Rex, Spotify. Yeah, Spotify, same thing. But yeah, I understand your point 100,000%. I think you make a really good point. T-Rex, yeah. Spotify, Shopify, all the same. I understand the very high beta, speculative Shopify, Spotify, all of them. Very speculative. Yep, I get it. You're right. Hey, Marcy says Bed Bath & Beyond was such a 90s staple. I remember growing up, and then they just fell off. Marcy, good to see you. Hey Brett, good to see you, my friend. Brett, I would agree. I think I would agree with you. So this is the 200 Southeast Financial Center. And this is home to Citadel Security's satellite office. So this is their temporary office until they build their new one. So there is a WeWork, and obviously Adam Neumann has been in the news as of late. Adam Neumann was the founder of WeWork that blew through billions upon billions of Masayoshi Son's money. And Masa-san is the CEO and founder of SoftBank. And he actually just, I think, got $350 million injection to operate a new business through A16Z. So that should be interesting. This building right here is the Aston Martin building, one of my favorite buildings in downtown Miami. But I think the thing I like the most is this massive American flag. Check out how big that thing is. T-Rex has Walks on Wall Street. Amazon, Netflix spent many years, if not decades, gathering subs at a loss to later turn a profit and 100x the stock. Yeah, you're right. You were correct. There's a difference between having a clear path towards profitability, right? So when you model these companies, right, you'll have a clear path to profitability. The point I'm trying to make about Bed Bath & Beyond is there's no clear path towards like prosperity, growth, and profitability. These are just declining businesses, and if I don't want to buy a company that's in structural decline, I'm not going to buy it. The LT Prod says, hey Tom, did you see the movie about Adam Neumann and WeWork? So I didn't, but a lot of people were telling me to go see it. I believe it's on Netflix, right? Isn't the, what is it called? Is it called We Failed or something like that? Or We Crashed? Was it called We Crashed or We Failed? I forget. I think you guys would maybe know a little bit more than me. But if you guys are enjoying tonight's stream, feel free to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new. We usually do these live streams about 5 days per week. And this is the very famous Intercontinental Hotel up here. Oh, it's on Apple TV Plus. It's called We Crashed. Copy that. Ooh, Miguel says, what are your thoughts on the huge student loan forgiveness? So that's another one of those hot button issues that I think I have a very different take on. So first and foremost, hey, Dr. House says, oh wow, when did you fly back down to Miami? I flew down yesterday. So I just got back yesterday, as to why we did not have the live stream. So here's what I'll say about the student loan issue. In my view, the reason why we're in this massive student debt crisis is because the government is in the business of guaranteeing all these student loans. Okay, now I know this is up for debate and it's a hot button issue, and I get that. But if I walked into the Ferrari dealership and said, hey, I want to take out a $200,000 loan to buy a Ferrari. Well, they'd say, okay, well, what is your income? What is your credit score? And if I said, oh, I don't have any income and I don't have any credit, well, they'd tell me to take a walk, right? They tell me to hit the bricks. But if I do the same thing and say, hey, I want to attend this college and get an English degree, English major, they'll say, sure, you can take as much debt as you want. Now, I understand the argument that it's different. You can't really make that analogy because one is buying a car and one is buying a degree, in which case if you get a degree, you could possibly make more money. Where I disagree with that is there's a lot of people, and if you look at the data, the vast majority of people go to college and major in something, and then when they graduate, they do not work in the field in which they majored. So I think that we should be looking at this holistically and say, okay, if somebody wants to go to college and take out $100,000 in student loans to get an English degree, well, maybe that's not a good idea. Or maybe you should go to a community college to try to save money. Or maybe you should major in something else. But you should get the government out of it. The government should not be guaranteeing these loans, because when the government guarantees the loans, it literally encourages colleges to raise prices. And it encourages colleges to become extremely bloated. You ever notice how the vast majority of the staff at colleges are not professors? They're all admins and administrators that are making like $75,000 to $100,000 a year. They build massive, sports stadiums and swimming pools and gyms and cafeterias. The majority of like big colleges are like a grown-ups playground, right, to have fun and play beer pong. And the reason why they were allowed to become like that is because the government's guaranteeing all these loans. If the government couldn't guarantee any of these loans, well, then a lot of people couldn't afford to go to college, right? And basic supply and demand, the colleges would have to lower prices. They'd have to fire some administrators. They'd have to close down, one of their 20 cafeterias that they have on campus. Now, I know it's a hot button issue. Many people disagree, and I respect that, but that's sort of the opinion I hold. I'm not saying it's the right one. I'm just saying that's the one that I hold. What we could do, here's what I would do, and I think this is pretty fair. I'm actually for canceling all student loans. Yeah. And I tend to be a conservative, you guys know that. But I am actually in favor of canceling everybody's student loans. But there's a catch. There's a catch. If I was the President of the United States, I was like, look, we made a mistake as a country. People make mistakes. This was a multi-trillion-dollar mistake, but we made it. Now we're going to course correct and we're going to fix it, and this is how we're going to do it. We're going to wipe the slate clean. I understand that people are going to be butthurt because you worked through college. You worked 80 hours a week through college. I did that too. I worked through college. I barely ever slept. I had 2-3 jobs. But if you abolish all student loans, from the day we abolish all of them, the government is no longer allowed to guarantee or subsidize any of these loans. It's done, gone. Colleges have to figure it out. So for the first maybe 5 to 10 years, it's going to be really difficult on people. There's going to be a lot of people that can't go to college. Colleges are going to go out of business. Right? There's going to be a lot of bankruptcies, but that's what needs to be done. If we don't do anything, this is going to continue in perpetuity, and it's going to be horrible. Brett says we need more work skill education, less advanced math. Bring back the mechanics. Well, I think you can have both. I think STEM is the number one thing that we should be studying, but I definitely agree. Yeah, you can go to like a trade school and do really well. And if you think about, the new wave of automation and AI, a lot of artificial intelligence are going to automate away a lot of like HR jobs, a lot of finance jobs. It's very hard for a robot to go in there and turn a wrench and fix a leaky pipe, right? Or install a new HVAC system in your house. So it's a good point. What's next is these universities with millions or billions in endowments should not be able to take student loans funds for federal scholarships. I agree with that too. I think that's more along like the top 50 schools. So like a lot of the Ivy League schools, top 50, these people have multi-billion-dollar endowments. So I think that's actually a pretty good solution. I never really thought about that. What's next? Brian XTC says allow people to declare bankruptcy. Yeah, that's another one, right? You're not even allowed to declare bankruptcy on the student loan. That's insane. I mean, the heartbreaking stories, everybody, not to really beat a dead horse here, but the heartbreaking stories are the people who take out a $40,000 student loan. They've already paid back $40,000, but the interest rate was so egregiously high that they still owe like 40 grand. Those are like the really, really heartbreaking stories that are really horrible. But yeah, I mean, it's funny, anytime the government tries to make something more affordable, they make it more expensive. In every case. In every case. Hey, Sabrina Fair is here. Welcome, Sabrina. So that's where a lot of conservatives would disagree with me. They say, even some of my friends are like, Tom, but you know, I worked all throughout college. I had 2-3 jobs just to pay the tuition. And why should my tax dollars go to pay for somebody else's tuition? To which I say, I get it. I understand completely and I agree with you. But what good is it going to do for the country if these people are totally incapacitated with hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of debt? Because probably, number one, they were probably sold this loan in unethical ways. I mean, unless they were just really, really stupid, which I don't believe the vast majority of people are really stupid. I tend to be an optimist. I mean, don't they show I mean, I've never taken out a student loan, but don't they show you an amortization schedule or something? So if you were sold this particular loan in an unethical way, no, you shouldn't have to pay for it. Is that fair? Is that not fair? I don't know. Miguel says DeVry was also caught with scamming. Anonymous says they may have been sold that loan, but no one forced them to attend an $80,000 a year school. That's another good point. I get it. But the thing is, it's like, where my argument is look, I get that. You know, I was smart enough when I was young. I'm like, look, I don't have money. I don't come from a rich family. So I'm going to go to a cheap school that's like $3,000 a year, right? A CUNY school. But a lot of people are sold a bag of goods, right? A lot of people are sold a bag of goods and they say, oh, this is just how it's supposed to be. And that's what happens. But the overarching point I'm trying to make is potentially what we could do is just close the deal. You got to close the deal. There has to be a compromise because this can't go on in perpetuity because people are never going to be able to advance. They're going to be spending the majority of their income on student loans. I think if we could just do a big write down on all this stuff, eat the cost. I mean, we send billions of dollars to countries where we don't even know how to pronounce these countries. You know, why don't we do something for the average American here? You know, and a lot of people who have student loans are first generation immigrants, right? They came to the country, they did the right thing, they did the right thing. They came here to the United States. You know, they took out loans to go to college because that's what they were told. So, look, I think if you just cancel all the student loans, but then never again you ban, I would literally ban any government involvement in the loan subsidy business, and then no one would qualify. And then a lot of these colleges would have to figure something out. It's either you fire your 20,000 administrators, you close down one of your 30,000 dining halls that's on each room or each floor, and you got to figure it out. But something has to be done. Anonymous is, and what would you say to those people who actually paid their loans off in full? Why don't those people? Yeah, I mean, I think I addressed that. I think maybe the chat would be a little bit delayed. Again, there's no positive answer here. Let me just be very clear. There's no decision that we could make that's going to make everybody feel good. Because if we cancel student loans, you're going to have people that work tirelessly to pay them off, and then they're going to be like, oh, I'm a big sucker. Why did I pay it off when the government was just going to cancel it? It's collateral damage. It's collateral damage. Again, I was one of those people, by the way, guys. You know, I worked ridiculous hours. You know, I think I told you guys, I used to work at the Express in Times Square at 9 o'clock at night to 3 o'clock in the morning to work, and went to an affordable college. So I get it, but at the end of the day, there needs to be a decision that's made, because every day we wait, it's going to be trillions. It's going to be like another trillion every 4 to 5 years. It's going to be ridiculous. So there's all good arguments on both sides, but there's just no right answer. Brian says maybe people pay for 10 years and then the rest is canceled. That's a good idea. David says, heck, cancel my mortgage. No, and look, again, I get it. Like, I know all the arguments. I'm not new to a lot of these arguments. But there comes a time where it's going to get so bad where it's just going to be, it's going to have very, very severe ramifications on class mobility in the United States. And when that happens, you could just forget about it. But look, I think there's all good points. People are putting a lot of good points in the chat. But the only thing that I would challenge everybody in the chat is, for every objection that you throw at something, try to find a solution. Try to be solutions oriented. Try to be solutions focused, right? And again, I was the exact same way. But the only thing that I can think of that'll get us out of this mess is to abolish the government subsidy program for student loans and wipe the slate clean and admit we made a big mistake. That's the only way I see out of it. So this building here is the Paramount Tower. It's one of my favorite buildings. And I think it has the most amenities in an apartment complex anywhere in North America. It's like a crazy, crazy building. And this building right here is the Freedom Tower. So many of the Cuban immigrants that came to the United States, they checked in right here. So this is a very, very beautiful building. Pit 2 NYC says, how about the university sitting on $1 billion endowments? Cut the first check before the American people do. That's a good idea. I'm not opposed to it. So maybe those particular universities with massive multi-billion-dollar endowments, what we could do is something like this, because I think that's actually a good idea. See, that's what you call being solutions-oriented and making a suggestion, so I like that. Potentially what we could do is we could say, okay, what percentage of your students took out a loan that was backed by the taxpayer, right? A government-subsidized student loan. We calculate that amount, and those particular universities have to pay that amount back to the government, back to the taxpayer, in helps to abolishing the student loans. I think that's actually a really good idea. I think that's a good idea. At the end of the day, I just want people to be able to live a normal life. Because some of my friends made a mistake. They did the same thing. They got wrapped up. They have $75,000 worth of student loans, and it's growing at like $10,000 every 3 years. And many of them will probably never pay it off. So it's really, really horrible. Hey, Fred says, once you clean out a subsidy program, the government will enact 10 more, so it's better to leave it as is. Maybe. Hey, Cindy Foley says, good night, Tom. Thank you so much for the chat. Thank you, Cindy. I appreciate you being here. The LT Prod says, Tom, did you hear $163 billion of pandemic unemployment benefits went to fraud? Oh, of course. I think everybody was waiting for that number. I mean, and I think it's probably a lot more. Marcy is essentially a student loan bailout. Governments bail out corporations in emergency situations. Loan holders would just be experiencing the same. Yeah. Johnny C says, did your friend sign a contract that they can't read? No, he could read it, but I think at the end of the day, and Johnny, I'm more on your side than you think. Like, I read the contracts, I made the right decision. I went to a school that was $3,000 a year and chose not to go to a private school. But at the end of the day, it's so ingrained into American culture that if you don't go to this top university, you're a loser, and the parents are psychos, and they convince them to go to these schools to impress their other friends, and it's a systemic problem. These people have issues. And at 17 years old, I think it's very bad for us as a country to allow 17-year-olds to make $100,000 decisions and take out $100,000 worth of debt when they don't have any income. So I agree. I see your point, and I agree. Again, there's going to be no right or wrong answer here, and there's going to be no good answer. Because here's the thing: if we don't do anything and the government continues to subsidize all these loans, this is where the Miami Heat play basketball, by the way. So if we don't do anything and the government continues to subsidize all these loans, the debt balances are just going to continue to grow in perpetuity, and it's going to get worse every year. That's what's going to happen if we don't do anything. And I think that is worse than the alternative. So, I don't know. Those are my ideas. I'm not saying they're right. I'm not saying they're the best ones, but everybody, we are coming up on the 2-hour mark. I want to thank each and every person for joining the live stream. I think we had a good conversation tonight. We talked a lot about Walmart's earnings report. We talked a little bit about student loans. We got to share a lot of good ideas. And again, I'll say, there's a lot of good points that are made on both sides. So I appreciate the conversation, everybody. Thank you for coming out tonight to Walk Some Wall Street. We will be live tomorrow at 8:30. What I'm thinking about doing also is for going forward at 4 o'clock, right when the market closes, I think I'm going to be uploading a standalone video almost probably 5 days a week after the market closes, just so everybody could join the chat and just talk amongst each other. I'll be in the chat too. We could talk about what's going on at work, what's going on in the financial markets. I think that'll be a cool way for us to regroup and get together. But everybody, if you enjoyed the stream tonight here from Miami, feel free to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you are new. And we'll see you tomorrow. So thank you, Austin City Limits. I appreciate you for joining. Sabrina Fair, thank you so much. Lil Yell, War Walker, GG, NYC, Lynn, OT, thank you. Destructionist, Tin Man, T-Rex, thank you so much. T-Rex, I appreciate it. Great conversation, T-Rex. I appreciate it very much. Ryan Royal, Andy, Austin, Miguel, thank you so much. It's the Mighty Bull. Have a good night wherever you are, because there is always a bull market somewhere. You just need to know where to look. And I'll see everybody right back here tomorrow, 8:30. Once again, if you scan the QR code on your screen, it'll drop a link to the Behind the Street newsletter, which is a free financial newsletter that I write for the group. So if you want my take on the US equity market, emerging markets, fixed income, please scan the QR code on your screen, punch in your email, and I'll send it to you for free. Everybody have a good night. Finish the week strong. Thursday tomorrow. See you back here, 8:30.